Welcome back to Rough Restos. I'm Jordan, and once again we're working on the L322. What else will we be working on? Not a Capri, because it's constantly in a Range Rover. Well, that's actually coming very soon, so if you are a Capri watcher, probably after this video, next videos will be Capri related. So we're back on that very soon, which I'm getting excited for. So, basically, obviously, if you were to knock your wheel, over time parts get a line, you've changed any suspension components on the front, track rod ends, anything like that, your tracking's most likely going to be out. You might have got it in place, but still, it's going to be out. So if you notice your steering wheel slightly wonky whilst cruising, or the car feels a bit harder to work out in a Range Rover, but it feels a bit too direct on the steering or too wallowy, again, a bit hard with the Range Rover because it is very wallowy as standard, then your tracking's going to be out. You can take a quick peek at your wheels and see, do they look roughly in line with rear wheels? Maybe not. It's going to be a short video a minute on how to set the tracking, or how I'm going to set the tracking on my L322. I noticed the steering wheel slightly wonky whilst driving, and I've just changed one of the front suspension arms, so it's the perfect time to do it. So what we're going to need, 24mm spanner. Well, that's what my current tie rods and tie rod ends are. So a 24mm spanner, maybe adjustable, maybe a pair of grips, but the correct spanner is easier. Cup of coffee, bit of patience, and my tool of choice is the Trackace, which I think is a Gunson tool. Now I've used this multiple times before on a few of my project cars. I used to do it like tape measuring bits of string and wood and whatnot in. It was a faff and just wasn't great, whereas this actually, it works spot on. Really, for the DIY side of things, it was worth the money, especially with the amount of playing around with cars I do. So we'll be using a Trackace. It's an excellent bit of kit, certainly worth buying if you're going to be doing like your tracking yourself, playing with suspension. So we're using that one. So, what do we need to do? Right, well first off, you probably can't see here, but my suspension work stuff in the car is all out of line at the moment because I've had the rear jacked up to do a rear hub bush. The whole thing's out of line. So what your car must be when you go to set tracking is it must be sat at the standard height, like your standard driving height, and the suspension must be settled. So, at the minute it's not settled, it's all over the place. So what I'll do is I'll start the car up, I'm going to probably raise it up, drop it back down, drive forwards and backwards a couple of times, and that's going to mean that our suspension is all settled and in place. Whilst doing so, we're going to make sure that the steering wheel ends up being straight, because obviously on simpler cars you can set the wheels up, then you can adjust the steering wheel to suit, but you don't want to be taking the steering wheel for the sake of it on this thing, because you've got to pop the airbag off and just leave the steering wheel alone. If you haven't gone and changed the steering rack or the steering column, the steering wheel should be spot on. So set it central and leave it central. Now we're fortunate with the L322s because we can reach right underneath them to set tracking. Because they're so high up, we don't actually have to do any messing around, jacking it up and adjusting it, putting it down again. We can reach straight away. So as you can currently see at the minute, my steering wheel's not quite in the right position, but this wheel is facing fairly right, and this wheel is almost parallel with the rear wheel, slightly off. But when the steering wheel's straight, this wheel is parallel, this wheel faces out. So just visually, we can tell a minute which wheel needs adjusting first. So I'm going to quickly reset the suspension, get it leveled up, and then we're going to look into the process of setting the tracking. So this side looks nigh on perfect, or close to. This side, yeah, no, way out. So, we know we've got an issue there. Steering wheel is straight, suspension is settled. So in the Trackace kit here, we've got the mirror with a level, bar, two stands, and then we got our laser with our toe gauge. So, I guess you guys want to know what toe in and toe out is, if you don't already know. Right, I'm terrible at drawing, but that's our rear wheels, and our axle is very bent. And then our front wheels, toe in, it's a bit harsh, but the wheels would point in. So as you're driving along, the wheels are pointing in and fighting against each other. So that's toe in, and then toe out. Oops. It's very much the same. Slightly straight rear axle. And then we've got, instead, the wheels, that's very bad. You've just crashed into a curb there by the looks of it. The wheels sort of face outwards. Now, I've just tried to do some research and work out what it should be. Now, apparently, it's meant to be sort of 0 degrees plus or minus 10 minutes. So, what are minutes? Well, it turns out there are 60 minutes to a degree. Now, I thought it was 60 minutes to an hour, but nope, it's 60 minutes to 1 degree. So, ideally, the Range Rover tracking should be somewhere between here, between these 10 minutes and the 0 degrees, once tracked up. So, I reckon at the minute we might even be off the scale with how far out that is. There is a handy little chart in the back of the manual here which says, based on your wheel size, how many millimetres it is out based on how many degrees it is out. But we're not worried about that, we're just going to keep adjusting until it works. So, what do we need to adjust? Well, sorry it's so dark, I put the Range Rover down this end of the workshop, it's not ideal. Let's just make sure this light's turned right up for you guys, make life easier. Oh, and I got another I'll put it upside down. Okay, right. I'll get the old trusty torch out. So like I said before, on the L322, conveniently, you can get to this just by lying on your side, provided it comes undone. So right here we have the gator, and we have our track rod which goes back to our steering rack, and then we have the locking nut, and then our track rod end which has got a ball joint on it, and that's obviously quite a common part which gets replaced. So if you've replaced it, or replaced any of the suspension arms, or had it apart, you're going to want to check your tracking. So we need to crack off this 24mm lock nut right in front of us there. That will then allow us to allow the torch to fall backwards because it's stupid. Great. That will then allow us to turn this track rod either clockwise or anti-clockwise. If we turn it clockwise, it will add toe in because it will bring the wheel in closer to us. If we turn it anti-clockwise, it will push the wheel outwards, and that will give us toe out. So we already know that on this side we might not have to make any adjustments, but on the other side we need to adjust it and bring the wheel in at the front because it's currently got too much toe out. So I'll crack that off a minute, I'll adjust it. Now, before you get messing with that, you're going to want to wire brush up your threads because they're probably going to be crusty, and maybe put some penetrating fluid on it or some kind of grease to help out at least, and then always grease them back up afterwards because you might need to adjust them again yet, or someone will do in the future. So I'm going to get this other side cracked off a moment, start adjusting, and see if we can bring this wheel. I might adjust it and try to bring it visually back into line a bit more before we start messing around with the gauges, just because it is so far out, rather than that will give us one less reading we need to take. So I'm going to do that one by eye, and then we'll go there and check it properly. So step one is to position our laser engage just in front of the wheel. So just in front of the wheel, square. But we can use this thing here is the correct distance to go from the end of the other wheel back to, yeah, so distance wise, that, set it square, just in front of the wheel. Perfect. Step two, clip on our feet. Adjust it to suit our wheels, which are 22, so they're fair size. Now what we'll do, if we want to lean this up against the other wheel, touching the face of the wheel, ensuring that these are set nicely on the wheel and that the feet are set nicely on the floor. And we also want this spirit level bubble to be dead centre. So it takes a little bit of fiddling. So get that set up adjust it until it's sitting nice and square. Perfect. Now you're meant to have the mirror pointed down at the floor. Yeah. Now we want to go turn on our laser and align the laser dot with the middle of this mirror. Okay. So I'm not sure if you guys can see it, but the laser dot is sitting roughly in the middle of the mirror. And over this side, we've aligned it so it's reflecting back and sitting on 0. So now we're zeroed. Basically, this gauge is now zeroed off that first wheel. So now, for the third step, we take it off this wheel, leaving that laser in its exact same space. Put it on this wheel. So what we've just done is we put it on this wheel, but the mirror is still facing towards the laser. Aligned it again so the spirit level bubble says it's level. And then this is now projecting an image back to say, on our dot there, which you can probably see, we're running now about 15 minutes toe out. So my quick rough adjustment there is actually brought it way in. It was probably way out past the 2 degrees toe out before. But now we're only 20 minutes out. See, we're aiming for 0, somewhere between 10 minutes minus and 10 minutes plus. So anywhere toe in, toe out. I think the way the suspension designed here is when you actually put your foot down, the wheel will move back a smidge, creating more toe out. So if anything, I'm going to be aiming for 0 degrees to a smidge of toe in to try to keep it. So now all you can see is we basically have to repeat this step with adjustments until we get it to our desired effect. We could just adjust this wheel, pop this back on and see what's going to happen, but that's not an accurate way of doing it, because when we start adjusting this wheel, it is going to mess with the steering wheel and it is going to slightly mess with the other wheel. So each time we do an adjustment, we need the suspension and steering to be recentered and resettled again, okay, just to ensure it's perfect. So I'm going to keep adjusting it a minute, reset with steering and suspension. We then have to just go back to step 1 again, re-zero it, set up again and measure. It takes a couple seconds, keep doing that until we're happy where our measurement is. So we'll go with that second. So after a couple adjustments, there we have it, 10 degrees toe in. I'm fine with that. So tracking is done, perfect. Now the only thing to be careful of, so you do lock that back up, re-grease your threads, and then just ensure that this boot here, when you're twisting the tie rod, make sure that boot doesn't get wound up. There's a little spring clip on it you can undo, and that'll stop it. Mine just twisted within the boot, so it's fine, didn't move the boot. But obviously you don't want to get the boot twisted up because it could damage the boot, and then that's a pig to replace. So just undo that clip if you need be. So do lock that back up, chuck a bit of grease on it, good to go. And it really is simple as that, really. Nice and easy. So what I'm going to do now is going to go and give it a test drive, make sure it's not pulling. If it is still pulling and the tracking's dead on, obviously that can be down to worn suspension components, tyres unevenly inflated. You might visually see it when the airbags has dropped, that's causing it to pull. There could be a whole number of reasons, but tracking is probably the most predominant one. Too much toe in or toe out, uneven toe on wheel. So we've now fixed that, which is great. As I say, this Trackace, it's not essential, but it makes it really easy. And obviously when you're measuring things using strings and such, you can't get it bang on and you don't know what degree it's at. So if you want to set it to a particular degree, you can't. Whereas this fairly inexpensive tool actually is really good. I'd love to say I'm sponsored, but I'm not. Although if Gunther wants to send me any more kit, I'm fine for that. So yeah, it's also advisable once you've got your final reading and you're happy with it, to move the car so that the wheels rotate 180 degrees and try it again, make sure it's still the same reading. If not, your wheels could be slightly damaged, in which case you probably want to then meet in between them two readings to get your close enough tracking reading. But yeah, I'm hoping that video kind of made sense. It's a bit of a quick rushed one. I need to get a new track rod end now because I'm not happy with that one, but at least it's in line now. I would maybe take a peek first and check the conditions of your rubbers. If you notice any kind of knocking when you're steering or any weird feelings, the chances are your track rod end ball joints might be knackered, so order up some new track rod ends and just do the whole lot in one go. Would make sense. They're quite inexpensive, and they certainly improve the handling and feel the steering quite nicely when they are gone from worn to brand new. So yeah, I'm going to stop rambling on now. Hopefully you guys took a bit in from that and it's some use to you. I know a lot of the L322 videos do go down pretty well because they're quite helpful, which is good, and I'm glad to hear that. So yeah, if you did enjoy this video, why not drop me a comment, tell me what you think, tell me if there's any other kit out there that might be more suitable, or any ways you might do it maybe. Tell me if I've done anything wrong, probably, but yeah. Drop the video a like, it really helps the whole YouTube algorithms and such and really boosts the channel. And obviously subscribe for plenty more, and there is tons more. Oh, there's like 5 other previous videos on this one already recorded recently. There's all the previous ones before that. There's anything from gearbox replacements to corrosion repairs, which is just Jad. That's just Land Rover, full stop. Inventory updates, all tuning, all sorts. So why not jump back on the channel, look at all the previous L322 content because there's loads of it. And with any luck, I'll see you guys again next time. I've been Jordan. Cheers.